In today's Know Your Rights segment, we're diving a little deeper into workers' compensation, specifically when dealing with your medical care. Catherine Stone from Barbas Law joins us again today to explain. Welcome back. We love when you're here, Catherine.
Thank you. I always enjoy it.
You know, and it's interesting because we've already talked a little bit about workers' comp, but you feel that this is so important that you want to touch on it again.
Yes. Well, the medical aspect is one of the biggest parts when it comes to a workers' compensation claim. And what I felt needed to be explained to a lot of people is a lot of times I have clients come in and they've just had their accident or they're very early into their treatment and they don't understand what they're able to receive or what choices they have. And unfortunately in the workers' comp system, they get very few choices. They don't get to choose their doctor. And in fact, the employer carrier gets to choose who your doctor is, and that's really hard for a lot of people who've just been injured, that they don't get to choose who's going to be providing them with medical treatment.
And is it safe to say that a lot of people perhaps don't realize that, don't have a lawyer on their side, and then go to their own doctor, and then all of a sudden they've kind of painted themselves in a corner?
Well, yes, because through the workers' compensation system, in order for an injured worker not to be responsible for the medical bills, they have to wait for the adjuster on their claim to approve a doctor, and there's only certain doctors on certain lists that are, quote, approved doctors. So if you go to a doctor and you don't have that approval from an adjuster, you could be on the hook for those medical bills, versus if you wait until an adjuster authorizes a doctor, then you would not be responsible and work comp would cover 100% of that bill. In most situations. Now, if you have gone through a series of treatment and your doctor finally says you're as good as you're going to get, they refer to it as MMI or maximum medical improvement. At that point, then you may be responsible for a $10 copayment. But for the most part, until you've reached to that point, as long as you stick with the doctors that workers' comp has authorized for you, you're not responsible for that medical bill.
Which is huge when you're faced with a situation in workers' comp. So a great point. I know there's another don't that you have that people need to realize as well.
One of the other biggest things when clients come in and I start going through medical records for either the doctors they've treated with or in their past, the medical intake forms. Before you see the doctor, or even when you're talking to the doctor and they're asking about your prior medical history, it is so very important when you have a work-related injury that you're treating for, that you provide your full entire prior history, even if you don't think it has anything to do with your accident, and especially if it does, or you have had treatment to the prior, to that same body part in the past, because if you leave those forms blank, and not deny it, but just leave them blank, that could be deemed a denial of prior history, and you could find yourself where your claim is denied entirely.
So just because you don't see the connection doesn't mean you don't fill out your paperwork.
Correct. Pay attention to the paperwork when you go to the doctor's office. Pay attention to the questions that are asked of your doctor. It's so very important. A lot of times when we go to our doctor's office, if you're like me, half the time I can't remember what I did or who I treated with. But when you go to a workers' comp doctor, whether it's the first visit or your 100th visit, make sure you're filling out those forms correctly and completely to the best of your ability.
Well, and I know we're actually, getting short on time here, but there is another point that you definitely want to bring up because this is such an important issue.
Well, with regards to, again, your medical treatment, the only times you get to choose your doctor is if you decide to have an expert review your case, which is called an independent medical evaluator. Typically, that's when you have an attorney involved and your attorney will assist you with trying to find that doctor. The other way is if you've requested a one-time change in doctor, which you only get once, and the adjuster doesn't provide you with the name of a doctor within 5 days of your written request, then you, as the claimant, get to choose what doctor you want to go to. Doesn't happen very often, but we're all human and sometimes it does happen.
Man, once again, I'm always floored by all the information and how I can't remember this, and so it's good to have a lawyer on your side. Thank you so much for coming in and talking about this again. We really do appreciate it. And of course, if you have any questions about your rights, all you have to do is give them a call, 1-800-BARBAS-LAW, or just go to barbaslaw.com/knowyourrights. Thank you again.
Thank you.